Coal mining, the adverse effects on biodiversity. Each year, biodiversity steadily declines due to the direct effects of human actions. Human involvement, such as pollution and habitat destruction, threaten various ecosystem populations. This new increase in human innovations has continued to disregard the lives and habitats of millions of wildlife and has perpetuated the loss of biodiversity. While some sanctions have taken place to preserve wildlife, the ecological damage has been significant to various communities, leading to the near extinction of numerous species. The continuous cycle of human innovations and projects cultivates the grounds for serious adverse effects on biodiversity. However, the implementation of immediate conservation efforts and sustainable projects and practices can mitigate the deteriorating state of our wildlife communities. Before one can dissect the information regarding the loss of biodiversity, it is imperative to define biodiversity and the characteristics it encompasses. According to the textbook Environmental Science and Sustainability by Daniel J. Sherman and David R. Montgomery, biodiversity is described as the variety of species and life in the world or in a particular ecosystem. With this new understanding, one can now explore the realms into biodiversity communities. A population, according to Sherman and Montgomery's Environmental Science and Sustainability, is a collection of the same species living in a given area. At an expanding scale, populations of different species living in a particular place are called a community, whereas ecosystems are a community of life and physical environment with which it interacts. When examining different species, scientists explore and inquire evidence surrounding species richness, which is the number of different kinds of species in an area. This consensus leads scientists to group and track the number of species within an area, which fosters an opportunity to weigh in on both the growth and decline of different species. While a variety of human projects have grossly affected global biodiversity, this video will focus on the impact of coal mining. With electricity being a crucial element in many modern societies, coal serves as a key component. According to the scholarly article, Impact of Coal Mining and on Stream of Biodiversity in the U.S. and its Regulatory Implications by GM and et al., the U.S. has two federal statutes to govern coal mining, the first being the 1972 Clean Water Act, or CWA, and the second, the 1977 Surface Mining Control and Reclamation Act, or SMCRA. Section 404 of the CWA governs the discharge or dredged or fill material, whereas Section 402 of the CWA regulates the discharge of all other pollutants. However, despite these regulations, research has found that the SMCRA and CWA are largely ineffective in mitigating coal mining impacts on water quality. Mountaintop mining, valley fill, known as MTM-VF, is an area of surface mining that has adverse ecological effects that have had costly effects on Central Appalachian landscapes. The article explains that the process known as MTM-VF, vegetation and soil on mountain ridges, are cleared and rocks overlying coal seams are removed by explosive to access underlying coal. While some of the waste from the rocks is stored from excess from the rocks is dumped into valleys, curating an atmosphere for valley fills. The article goes on to examine a sample from MTM-VF streams in West Virginia, in which they found concentrations of SE in 13 streams above the EPA limit, leading to toxic bioaccumulation in fish and wildlife. These insufficient government regulations are directly impacting ecosystems surrounding these coal mines, particularly within the biodiversity streams of the Appalachia. Species such as the spring salamander, Epiphyllum mayfly nymphs, diamond darter, tuxedo darter, and Kentucky air darter are extremely sensitive to high levels of these ion concentrates in the streams. With acidic runoff seeping into their habitats, these species are steadily declining in numbers and contributing to the global decline of biodiversity because of human innovations and projects. The article, Acid Mine Drainage from Coal Mining in the United States, highlights another adverse effect from coal mining known as acid mine drainage, or AMD. The process of AMD occurs when sulfide minerals such as pyrite oxidize. According to the article, the main sources of AMD include runoff and seepage from mine rock dumps, open pit mines, stockpiles, tailings, construction rocks, and rock cuts. The article then examines AMD and its effects, stating that AMD include increased levels of suspended solids, mobilizations of heavy metals, decreased pH on water bodies, and groundwater contamination. Entry of heavy metals into the food chain and their uptake by plants and animals, and degradation of drinking water. Back to the region of Central Alapasha, the article consistent declines in aquatic biodiversity across diverse domains of life in rivers impacted by surface and coal mining emphasizes how one of the most diverse freshwater ecosystems is facing ecological hardship. Alkaline mine draining occurs from extensive coal mines, elevating the pH, salinity, and traces of element concentrations in downstream waters. The article states that previous regional assessments have found declines in stream, macroinvertebrate, and fish communities after draining these mined areas. The article evaluates a variety of organisms, including bacterial algae, macroinvertebrates, all eukaryotes, and fish using amplicon sequencing of environmental DNA, or eDNA, and collecting 93 samples from streams in Central Alapasha to determine how the area of land use affects downstream water chemistry and its role in aquatic biodiversity. They found that streams below mining operations had steep declines in biodiversity, despite the current U.S. environmental protection benchmark. Additionally, the damaging effects of coal mining has even transcended beyond the realms of aquatic biodiversity. The article, Biodiversity Responses to Landscape Transformations Caused by Open Pit Coal Mining, an assessment on bats and dung beetles in the Colombian tropical rainforest, investigates the effect of mining activity and its effect on the diversity of dung beetles and bats in the largest open pit mine in Colombia, residing in a tropical dry rainforest, which is an ecosystem heavily impacted by human influence. The species of both bats and dung beetles are crucial to the ecosystem. However, with the ecological changes to the environment from mining, negative influences have impacted the natural habitats of these two species. And while the dung beetles show more resilience to landscape changes, mining activities do affect the species' richness, abundance, and diversity of both bats and dung beetles, where, with increased mining activities, these indicators are reduced by intensified land use, and this response increases near the open pit area. Coal mining has negatively impacted ecological development, species, and habitats. The implementation of immediate conservation efforts and sustainable projects and practices can mitigate its deteriorating effects. The article, Environmental Capability, a Bradley Terry model-based approach to examining the driving factors for sustainable coal mining environment, examines sustainable practices to control the adverse environmental impact of coal mining. The article groups sustainability practice into four major categories: air, water, noise, and land pollution reduction. Implementing sustainability practices within these four major categories aids in mitigating the negative environmental effects of coal mining. For example, the importance of land pollution reduction is vital. Land exploration has altered the demographic profile of the land and destroys the soil substrate topsoil of natural form, which is the primary environmental hazard caused by coal mining operations. Additionally, land exploration contributes to the increasing the bulk of density of soil, metal content into soil, and pH of the soil, which ultimately makes the soil barren. This then leads to the loss of forest and agricultural lands near mining operations. Introducing practices such as lower impact mining techniques and land reclamation can prevent irreversible damage to the demographic profile of the land, protecting the wildlife within these coal mining communities. This alone, however, will not mitigate the adverse damages of coal mining in affected areas. Biological monitoring, that is the surveillance of living organisms within an ecosystem, will aid in providing a consensus for different species in a targeted area. By introducing this practice, scientists can monitor red flags such as a decline in species richness and prevent major diversity loss in the coal mining areas. With electricity being a major component of modern-day societies, coal mining fields are here to stick around. However, coal is now being quickly displaced by renewables. Most electricity is produced with natural gas in the U.S., but it depends on the state. A few states still use a lot of coal. But this could, however, be replaced out with better policies like putting a price on carbon emissions. While a necessity in most countries, coal mining fields contribute to the steep decline in biodiversity. With the continuous destruction and disregard of their habitats, species in both aquatic and tropical dry forests continue to face the consequences of these human innovations. While there is a steady decrease in biodiversity in ecosystems within a close vicinity to coal mines, conscious and immediate efforts to protect these habitats can mitigate the deteriorating state of our wildlife communities. However, there is a solution to mitigate these problems. Policies such as environmental regulation, carbon taxes, and subsidies for renewable energy have made coal less economically competitive. Additionally, market forces including the decreasing cost of renewables and the stabilization of natural gas prices have also played a crucial role. Continuous environmental monitoring of habitats can also help protect and preserve wildlife communities. This process is known as biodiversity monitoring. If project developers were to implement biodiversity monitoring, this will allow scientists to highlight any environmental red flags and create a solution for indicated red flags before they have dire effects on wildlife and their communities.